In order to explore the history of the mobile phone, one must first have an understanding of its predecessor, the telephone. The telephone was first patented by Alexander Graham Bell on February 14, 1876. Less than 1 month later, on March 10th, Bell spoke to his assistant via the telephone. "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." Over the next 70 years, the telephone and its network would spread across the globe, connecting hundreds of millions of people in the process. Although hugely successful, the telephone always had one major hindrance. It was stationary. The callers were tethered to their location. That is, until 1946, when the first form of mobile telephony was invented, the car phone. The car phone utilized radio waves to transmit the spoken word from vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to landline. This too was a highly successful step forward, but again, it was imperfect. In order to achieve a truly mobile phone that could travel outside of the range of a single radio tower, the concept of the cellular network was invented. The cellular network worked by connecting many radio towers together. Because these towers were connected, this meant that when a mobile phone moved out of the range of one cell tower, it would be picked up by another, and thus the call would always remain active. Fast forward to 1973, when Motorola managed to shrink the size of the mobile car telephone into something that could be carried in a person's hand. The first historic cell phone call was made by Martin Cooper, an executive at Motorola. Although the first successful cell phone call was made in the US, the first commercially viable cell network was launched in Japan by Nippon Telegraph and Telephone in 1979. This type of cell network is referred to as 1G, as in first generation. 1G networks would spring up next in Scandinavia in 1981 and the United States in 1983. Over the course of the next decade, 1G networks expanded across the globe. Then, in 1991, cell technology leapt forward once again. In Finland, second generation, or 2G, was made available. The greatest breakthrough that came about with 2G was the ability to transfer data through the network. This meant that cell phones could now send text messages, which were dubbed SMS. Similar to sending a text, a cell phone was also capable of sending a picture or a multimedia message. This new type of phone was dubbed the feature phone. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the best-selling handset companies were Nokia, Motorola, and Sony Ericsson. These companies were developing smaller phones with longer battery life and packing more features into their tiny shells. As a result, they sold millions of handsets every year. It was believed and parodied that cell phones would continue to get smaller and smaller.
Hold on. Hello?
This would later be proven wrong. Mobile phone companies had been pushing internet functionality into their handsets for a few years, but it wasn't until the dawn of 3G that browsing the mobile web became fast and highly productive. In January 2002, SK Telecom in South Korea made 3G technology available to their customers. This new technology enabled global positioning, location-based services, mobile TV, video conferencing, and video on demand, and, most importantly, full internet capabilities. 3G enabled the rise of the smartphone. A smartphone is defined as a mobile phone with an advanced mobile operating system. It combines the features of a cell phone, personal assistant, media player, GPS, and internet browser. In 2002, Canadian company Research in Motion released the BlackBerry 5810. The 5810 had a large screen and a full QWERTY keyboard. This allowed the user to type with both thumbs simultaneously, which in turn made writing long emails now possible. Throughout the 2000s, BlackBerry dominated the new smartphone category, selling millions of smartphones, first to the business community and then to the wider public. This smartphone dominance was short-lived though. On June 29, 2007, Apple, which was famous for making home computers and more recently portable music players, released its first mobile phone. The iPhone became the new standard for smartphone excellence, and its revolutionary design became widely adopted. The iPhone ditched the physical keyboard entirely and essentially became one large screen. The mobile phone industry now makes up 2% of the world's gross domestic product, and it is the fastest industry to hit the $1 trillion annual income level. It managed to do this in less than 30 years. So, what accounts for this enormous growth and massive spending? The answer lies in convergence. The phone has replaced the camera, the video camera, the radio, the television, the gaming console, and even the computer. In 2011, for the first time, more smartphones were sold than all types of personal computers. This includes desktop, laptop, and tablets. In 2013, Reuters proclaimed that it was the year of the phablet. A phablet is a portmanteau of a phone and a tablet. This name came about from the trend that smartphones were increasing in size. In 2007, the first iPhone was 4.5 inches in length, and the iPhone 6S, which was released in 2015, was 5.44 inches. Similarly, other manufacturers have been building even larger devices. The Samsung Galaxy Note S3 comes in at a whopping 5.95 inches in length. So, what accounts for this increase in size? Greater internet connectivity has allowed faster streaming of video content, which in turn has encouraged more people to watch more and more video content on their phones. This in turn has made a demand for bigger screens. But it appears there is a breaking point for the size of the smartphone. As recently as March 21st, 2016, Apple launched a smaller version of their most recent phone. The iPhone SE has shrunk down to 4.87 inches. So what does this mean for a smartphone? I believe this demonstrates the importance of ergonomics. If a phone is too large for a user's hands, they can't use it efficiently. That being said, these same people desire a large screen to view content on their phones. This desire for large viewable content and appropriate ergonomics is where I see the future of the smartphone. The interaction of the phone takes place near our mouths, ears, and eyes, and yet the device is something that we carry in our pockets, far from these body parts. This line of thinking leads me into the concept of wearable technology. In 2013, Google released a product that combined a heads-up display with a mobile phone. It was called Google Glass, and although it got a lot of news coverage, it never really took off with the public. I believe at the time, the technology was adequate, but the public wasn't ready to use it. That being said, in 2015, 14% of British people now own some sort of wearable tech. In most cases, this is accounted for by simpler wearables such as smartwatches and fitness trackers. I think these types of devices will lead the way towards people adopting more immersive wearable technology, such as Google Glass. These types of wearable devices solve the problem of appropriate ergonomics and the desire to view large content. The future of mobile phones will be in wearable technology. Video will be displayed at the eye, allowing the content to feel large and immersive. Moving further into the future, once wearable technology has been adopted, I believe that the next iteration of wearable smartphones will see our devices being permanently implanted inside us. As far back as 2002, two art students at the Royal Art College of London developed a mobile phone that could be implanted inside a person's tooth. Again, like Google Glass, this technology was ahead of its time, and I don't see this being widely adopted for a few more decades. Technology has not driven people into adopting new devices, but rather it is people that have pushed technology forward. The phone became mobile because people wanted to communicate freely away from their home or office. 3G cell networks were created because there was a demand for fast internet connectivity. In conclusion, the phone was initially invented to make long-distance communication fast and effective, but over the past 140 years, it has done this and so much more. I believe that over the next 30 years, wearable technology will become the norm. Smartphones that act as tools for creation, communication, and entertainment will be worn on our heads, and these devices will be connected online 24 hours a day. Although wearable technology is feasible now, its adoption has been slow. I predict that wearables such as Google Glass will not be mainstream for another 15 years. For this reason, I believe that implanted devices are still a long way off, and I don't expect them to be popular for another 40 to 50 years.